I'm going to go over how to create invoices in Rosemark and then export those invoices to Quickbooks. To start out, your shift verification should have already been done using either telephony from the Office menu. You can take a look at your telephony events, making sure they're all linked with that green check. Or we're going through the Reports menu, pulling up unverified shifts is another way you can check and make sure that for the time frame you're billing, there's nothing left behind that is not yet verified. Now there's another video where I cover in depth how to use those things, so for now I'm just going to go into how to actually start creating the invoices. So first I'm going to go to the Office menu and create invoices. And this is my invoice creation screen where I can control what I'm trying to bill for. Now an important thing to start out with is to set my through date, so this is how far I'm covering through on the invoice. I'm going to say the August 25th in this case. Now as far as the start date, it's going to pick up from wherever the invoices last left off. So you can see in these cases there's a few people on here that were last invoiced through 7/13. But since I'm going through an example where not much invoicing has been done, a lot of these people don't have an invoice through because the invoices haven't been created yet. If it's your first time ever invoicing in Rosemark, you'll want to make sure you go to the configuration menu from the main screen with File, Configuration, and Invoicing, and set the invoicing start date to make sure you don't get billing showing up for things that you've already maybe covered manually before you started invoicing through Rosemark. So in this example I'm going to say we're starting on August 19th, so I'm going to bill from the 19th through the 25th. So that's why I've got back on my creation screen you can see the 8/25 through date. It's got the default start date, which is where the people that haven't been invoiced before are going to start from. Now before I actually create any invoices, I want to make sure I check my unbillable shifts report, which will show me any shifts that I might accidentally miss for any reason at all. If I click into here, I've got some stuff showing me an earlier range than I actually care about at the moment, so I'm going to change this to say the 19th through the 25th. And I've just got two problems here. This is covered in depth more in that other video like I was saying, but I'll just take a quick look at how to fix a couple of these up. I can either double click on this not assigned, or with it selected, hit unbillable shifts to open what the shift is. And then here if I click on that shift, easy way I can take care of this is to jump right to the planner. And we'll say in this case I know that the caregiver Patricia can cover this open shift, so I'm just going to go ahead and assign it to that caregiver. We'll say I've got the timesheet in front of me. I also know they worked it, so I'm also going to change that shift to verified complete. Now if I close back out of these windows, back to my report, see the only one left is the not verified section. So if I open that up, we've got one shift here for the client Artemis Taylor. I'll go into the planner like I did before, and then I'm just going to right click on that shift and say I know it's verified complete to take care of that. So right before you create your bills, you should see this. All the shifts are billable, so billable and total are going to have the same amount in them. There's nothing in the unbillable section, which is what I want to see. So I'm going to close this here, and now I could either select all to select everyone for creating an invoice, and then uncheck and select few of them if there's some people I was skipping, or I can just individually pick specific people I want. In this case, I'm just going to create one invoice for Helen here and check off this client here. Now if I say create invoices, that's going to automatically open up the invoice list. And here I can do the final review of the invoices before I send them over. So to do this process, if I click on an invoice, I can see all the details here about the bill to, the client, and the individual shifts, so telling me the rate and the totals. So this is where if anything jumped out as looking not properly set up, I can fix it. For example, if I double click to open a shift, I could change it back to assigned if I wanted to update the time because I maybe missed something. Or I can go to the hours tab and update the rate for that day if I want to do an override on that individual shift. Now when everything looks all good to send to Quickbooks, I can hit the closeout invoice button, which puts the little C for closed next to that invoice in the list. And if I had more than one invoice, when I hit the closeout invoice button, it would have automatically advanced to the next one on the list, so I could fairly quickly go down the list making sure those totals look alright and closing them out. Now this is ready to actually export to Quickbooks. So if I go to my File menu in the top left corner and then pull up the Quickbooks connection, this is where I can control any of the syncs I might want to do for Quickbooks. In this case I'm going to be doing the invoice export. The customer sync is done as part of the invoice export if it's needed, so you don't have to run a customer sync beforehand. You can just go straight to do invoice export. Here I'm going to see a summary of what it's about to do. I can see one closeout invoice will be exported. I might have open invoices or error invoices right off the bat if there was any problems already existing. Or most likely with open invoices would be if you created a batch of invoices and not all of them were ready to send over yet, but you needed to send some of them right away. I'm going to continue by saying do syncs. And it found no issues or new people that I needed to add, so it just skips right through those steps. And I'm ready to actually do the invoice exports. Alright, when I've successfully exported my invoices, I'm going to get this congratulations screen. I can just say OK, and even just close out the QuickBooks connection if I want. Now I'm going to pull up QuickBooks down here. I want to go take a look at my customer center and look for the customer that the invoice was just connected with. That's going to be under Citizens Mutual Trust, where I have Helen on yellow. And here's that invoice I just created today. I can click on it here. If I double click, that's going to show me a summary of the details. If I wanted to see what that might look like, I can do the print preview and see here how it's laid out. Now sometimes you might want to edit the invoice template. If you need to make any adjustments to how the invoice looks or what fields it's showing, for example, I don't have the service date currently displaying, I can just go to Customize and Additional Customization. Here if I go to Columns, I can turn different things on. For example, the service date, if I wanted to show this, I can turn it on screen and print. And then it's warning me though those pop-ups so that things might not quite fit, so I want to go to the Layout Designer and look at where these are. So for example, services over here, maybe I want that as the first column. So if I go back, I can change the order, this order number, and put serviced as 1. Now if I go back to the Layout Designer, I've got that first. And in here, it's pretty much just click and drag to change things. So I can line this up with that line, maybe drag this over with that one, and things like that, just to get things resized. And you might play around in here even more, add your own logo by inserting an image, or maybe just take things off by highlighting and hitting delete to change this to look however you might want. I'll just do a preview now, and just with those changes I had, now it looks something like this. Alright, that should be what you need to know to get started sending your invoices over. Also, once you've got it in QuickBooks and you've got an invoice to look at, you can play around with that template to change how it's going to look. If you make a new invoice template, the future invoices you export will go under the template you last used.